This morning, scary health news from a major celebrity.
There's like a little aneurysm. Whoa.
Entrepreneur and reality TV star Kim Kardashian revealing she was diagnosed with a brain aneurysm.
Forgot to respond to say, yes, I want it, because then I said I'm putting my phone down for this last week, that I really need to focus.
She's the woman who built an empire from fame, who turned every headline into power. But at 45, the story of Kim Kardashian has taken a turn no one expected. Behind the flawless photos and billion-dollar empire lies a truth far heavier than luxury can hide. It's a story of loss, love, and the price of living in the spotlight too long. What happened to the woman the world thought had it all will make you see Kim Kardashian in a way you never have before? The weight of perfection. For most of the world, Kim Kardashian lives a life people can only dream of: fame, fortune, beauty, and influence. But behind the glowing lights and flawless photos lies a truth few ever see. The pressure to be perfect has become both her greatest weapon and her deepest wound. For more than 2 decades, Kim has built an empire on image. Every angle, every word, every post is part of a machine designed to project control. But that control comes with a price, one that has followed her into her 40s. When Keeping Up with the Kardashians first aired in 2007, Kim was known for her looks, her style, and her relentless drive. Overnight, she became the face of a new kind of celebrity, one built on constant visibility. There were no breaks, no off days, no privacy. Every birthday, every heartbreak, every moment of vulnerability was dissected by millions. Critics called her shallow. Fans called her iconic. And through it all, she smiled. The truth, as she would later admit, was much heavier. "People think you just wake up and look like this," she once said. "But they don't see the work or the pressure." Behind the cameras, Kim lived under a microscope so powerful it left no room for flaws. Every wrinkle, every curve, every mistake became headline news. Even when she tried to celebrate her achievements, her businesses, her law studies, her motherhood, the world often reduced her to a body, a brand, a meme. That kind of scrutiny reshapes a person. Over the years, Kim's relationship with her own image became both armor and burden. She learned to smile through exhaustion, to post through pain, and to keep up the illusion of control even when her life felt anything but. The perfection her fans admired became a prison she couldn't escape. By her early 40s, the cracks began to show. Her social media presence softened. Her interviews became quieter, more introspective. There were moments where her confidence gave way to fatigue. The kind that comes not from failure, but from carrying the weight of everyone's expectations for too long. Friends say Kim's private world is much different from the polished version online. She is a perfectionist, someone who pushes herself far beyond what's healthy, often sacrificing sleep and peace for productivity. She once confessed that her drive to prove herself never turns off. Even success isn't enough, because in her world, enough doesn't exist. Every accomplishment demands another. Every triumph brings new critics. At 45, Kim Kardashian's perfection has become both her armor and her ache. The flawless photos hide a lifetime spent chasing approval in a world that never gives it. Behind the glow of her billion-dollar empire stands a woman who has learned that beauty fades, fame shifts, but the need to be enough never really disappears. And as the cameras keep rolling, Kim faces a truth that no amount of fame can filter. That perfection, once worshipped, can quietly become the heaviest burden of all. But the truth of Kim's struggle isn't just about fame or public pressure. It's about something far more personal. Because what came next would shake her world from the inside out. The health scare that changed everything. For a woman who has lived her entire adult life in the spotlight, Kim Kardashian has always seemed invincible, a symbol of control, strength, and unshakable confidence. But earlier this year, the illusion cracked. In a quiet, unguarded moment on The Kardashians, Kim revealed something that left even her family speechless. "There's like a little aneurysm," she said softly, her voice trembling. The words hung heavy in the air, a terrifying reminder that even icons are human. What began as a few dizzy spells and persistent headaches quickly spiraled into something she couldn't ignore. Kim, known for her relentless pace and impossible workload, had brushed off the symptoms at first. Photo shoots, business meetings, brand launches, her schedule didn't allow time for fear. But when doctors told her they'd found something unusual on her initial scan, she felt the ground shift beneath her. It wasn't just exhaustion, it was a warning. The next few days were filled with quiet panic. "I had to end up getting tons of other brain scans," she later told Good Morning America. "It's just a good reminder that you have to check everything. Health is wealth." The words came out steady, but those close to her say it was one of the most frightening experiences of her life. Waiting for results, facing uncertainty, realizing how fragile everything really is. These were things Kim had never let herself think about. Doctors at Cedars-Sinai ran multiple tests using advanced imaging to determine whether the small aneurysm posed a serious risk. For hours, Kim lay still inside the scanner, her mind racing with thoughts of her children, North, Saint, Chicago, and Psalm. For the first time in years, she wasn't worried about her next project or the next post. She was thinking about whether she'd live long enough to see her kids grow up. When the results finally came back, the relief was overwhelming. The aneurysm wasn't life-threatening, but it was a wake-up call. Stress, fatigue, and years of pushing her body past its limits had taken a toll. "It made me realize how much I take my health for granted," she said. Since then, Kim has made quiet but profound changes, cutting back on work, embracing a cleaner diet, prioritizing rest, and working out not for vanity, but for survival. Fans saw the episode as just another reality TV moment. But for Kim, it was something deeper, a confrontation with her own mortality. For someone whose life has always been measured in headlines and hashtags, the silence of a hospital room forced her to face what really matters. The diagnosis didn't end her career, it changed her perspective. It reminded her that fame means nothing if your body breaks beneath it. And though she returned to the cameras with her signature grace, those who know her best say something shifted forever. Because once you face your own fragility, even a woman like Kim Kardashian learns that not everything in life can be controlled. But this wasn't the first time life had forced Kim to stop. Because long before the scans and the headlines, she had already been living with another kind of pain. A heart torn between love and loneliness. For most of her life, Kim Kardashian seemed to have everything: beauty, success, power, and the love story that looked straight out of a dream. Her marriage to Kanye West, one of the most famous artists in the world, was once the crown jewel of her empire. Together, they were unstoppable, two visionaries who defined an era of fame. But behind the dazzling public appearances and perfect photos, something inside their fairy tale began to fracture. What started as passion slowly unraveled into pain, and the woman who built a brand on perfection was left confronting the one thing she couldn't fix: her heart. In the early years, Kim described Kanye as her soulmate, the one who saw her for who she really was. He encouraged her ambitions, reshaped her image, and helped her embrace her confidence on a global stage. But as years passed, their worlds began to drift apart. Fame magnified their differences. His public outbursts and unpredictable behavior became harder to manage, and Kim found herself trying to protect both her husband and their growing family from the chaos that surrounded them. "I just can't do it anymore," she confessed in one tearful scene on The Kardashians. When their marriage finally ended, it wasn't a dramatic explosion. It was quiet heartbreak. For Kim, it meant saying goodbye not just to a partner, but to the dream of the life they had built together. Despite everything, she remained graceful, refusing to speak ill of Kanye publicly. She focused on co-parenting and creating stability for their 4 children: North, Saint, Chicago, and Psalm. But friends say that behind her calm demeanor, the weight of loneliness began to grow. Nights once filled with laughter and plans were replaced by long silences and the hum of an empty home. In interviews, Kim has admitted that divorce was the most painful decision of her life. "You can have everything and still feel completely alone," she said. Those words revealed a truth few could imagine, that even in her sprawling mansion, surrounded by cameras and assistants, Kim often felt isolated. She had built an empire, but she was still searching for peace. When she began dating comedian Pete Davidson, the world saw it as her fresh start. For a while, she smiled again, genuinely, freely. But fame has a way of shadowing happiness, and soon that relationship too faded under the weight of public scrutiny. Since then, Kim has kept her love life private, focusing on her children and her work. Still, those close to her say she carries a quiet ache, the kind that doesn't fade with time or success. A part of her still believes in love, but she's learned that not all love stories end in forever. At 45, Kim Kardashian stands between love and loneliness. A woman who once had the world at her feet, now learning that true connection can't be built from fame, but from the fragile human heart that beats beneath it. But even as her heart tried to heal, her body was sending a message she could no longer ignore, one that would remind her how fragile even the strongest can be. When the empire feels empty. For most of the world, Kim Kardashian's life looks like the ultimate fantasy, a flawless mix of fame, fortune, and influence. She has mansions across California, private jets, luxury brands, and millions of people who watch her every move. But behind the filtered perfection and red carpet smiles, there's a silence that fame can't drown out. Because no matter how big her empire grows, Kim has learned a truth few people at the top ever admit. When everything you've built starts to shine brighter than you do, the emptiness hits harder than anyone could imagine. Kim built her name on transformation. From reality TV to billion-dollar mogul, she became a symbol of control over her image, her career, her future. Every part of her life was curated, perfected, and polished for the world to admire. But perfection, as she once said in an interview, comes at a cost. "People think I'm obsessed with looks or success," she explained. "But sometimes I feel like I'm disappearing behind it all." Her tone wasn't defensive, it was tired. The exhaustion of a woman who's been on display for nearly 20 years, constantly measured against her own myth. The more successful Kim became, the less room there was for imperfection. Every emotion became a headline. Every mistake turned into a meme. Every private moment, from heartbreaks to health scares, became content. And slowly, the lines between Kim Kardashian, the woman, and Kim Kardashian, the brand, began to blur. Friends say that what the public doesn't see is how lonely it gets. "She's surrounded by people all the time," one insider shared, "but very few of them see the real her." At 45, Kim's life looks fuller than ever, yet emptier in ways only she understands. Her beauty line is thriving, her legal career is taking shape, and her influence stretches across industries. But the spotlight she once controlled now feels heavier. She's spoken about waking up in the middle of the night with anxiety, worried about things that used to excite her: business deals, appearances, deadlines. "I used to love the rush," she said. "Now, I just want peace." That quiet confession revealed more than any headline ever could. The deeper tragedy of Kim Kardashian isn't in the fame itself. It's in what fame takes. It took her privacy, her spontaneity, and the ability to live without performing. Even her happiness became something to prove. "You can't just have a bad day," she said once. "If I'm tired, if I cry, someone somewhere says I'm falling apart. I can't just be human." And that's the hidden burden of living in a world where vulnerability is consumed like entertainment. Those closest to her say Kim's been trying to rebuild something real. She spends more time with her kids, studies late at night for her law degree, and keeps certain moments completely offline. She's learning that the empire she built doesn't define her. It never truly did. "I think she's finally realizing that peace can't be bought," a friend said. But peace doesn't come easily when your life has been a spectacle. There are still cameras, still critics, still expectations that never fade. Yet, for the first time in years, Kim seems willing to let the image crack, to show that even the strongest empire can feel hollow without a heart behind it. And maybe that's her greatest transformation yet. Learning that true power isn't in being untouchable, but in finally allowing herself to be human. And just when she thought she'd found her balance, another challenge emerged. One that tested her strength as a mother and as a woman. The woman behind the fame. When people hear the name Kim Kardashian, they picture the glamour, the diamonds, the cameras, the red carpets. But beyond the flashes and filters lies a woman the world rarely sees. At 45, Kim is no longer just a reality star or a business mogul. She is a mother, a survivor, and a woman who has lived her life in public long enough to understand what fame gives and what it quietly takes away. From the beginning, Kim's rise was unlike anything Hollywood had seen. She wasn't born into stardom, but built it from scandal, strategy, and sheer resilience. What started as gossip became an empire, one that turned her into one of the most recognized faces on the planet. But with every headline came judgment. People called her shallow, fake, or lucky. Few ever stopped to see the work. The endless meetings, the sleepless nights, the unrelenting pressure to stay relevant in a world that forgets fast. Those close to her say Kim's discipline borders on obsession. She wakes before dawn to work out, schedules every hour of her day, and still manages to be present for her 4 children. She doesn't rest, one friend admitted, even when she should. What drives her isn't ego, it's fear. The fear of losing what she's built, of fading into irrelevance, of disappointing those who depend on her. For Kim, control isn't a choice, it's a survival mechanism. Yet, beneath the surface, there's a deep humanity that fame often overshadows. She is the daughter who still quotes her late father, Robert Kardashian Sr., whose calm strength shaped her view of loyalty and justice. His passing in 2003 broke her, and in many ways, it still defines her. "He believed in truth," she said, "and I want to make him proud." That desire led her toward law, a journey many mocked at first, but one that revealed a side of her few expected. Long nights studying criminal justice, advocating for prison reform, and working quietly to free wrongfully convicted individuals became her quiet rebellion against her own stereotype. Still, the woman behind the fame isn't always strong. There are cracks in her armor, flashes of vulnerability that remind the world she's human. When her health scare hit, the discovery of a small brain aneurysm, it shook her to the core. For once, all the power, the money, and the fame couldn't protect her. In that moment, she was just Kim, a mother terrified of what the next scan might show. It forced her to slow down, to look inward, to confront how fragile life really is. Her private moments are spent with her children, North, Saint, Chicago, and Psalm, who have become her anchor. They are her greatest joy and her greatest motivation. "They saved me," she once said. "They remind me of what's real." Kim often admits that motherhood changed her more than fame ever could. It made her softer, humbler, and more aware of how little control any of us really have. But being the most photographed woman in the world means even her motherhood is scrutinized. Every parenting choice becomes a headline. Every tear, every triumph is analyzed by millions. And yet, she keeps showing up. For her kids, for her work, for herself. At 45, Kim Kardashian has become something she never expected. A symbol of endurance. She's not perfect, and she no longer tries to be. The woman behind the fame is still learning, still healing, still searching for peace in a world that won't stop watching. Because beneath the filters and fashion, there's just Kim. A woman who's fought to turn her pain into purpose, her mistakes into lessons, and her fame into something that finally, quietly, feels like her own. Fame can build walls, but it can't protect the heart inside. Kim Kardashian's journey at 45 is not about money or beauty. It's about survival. She's faced love lost, health fears, and the unbearable weight of perfection. Yet, she still shows up, still fights, still believes. And maybe that's the most powerful thing about her story. That strength doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes, it looks like quiet resilience. If this story moved you, hit like, leave your thoughts below, and subscribe for more untold truths behind fame's glittering curtain.